My name is Harvey Smith, co-creative director of Dishonored at Arcane Studios, and you're watching Platform32.
I've featured Dishonored a couple of times on Platform 32 now, and although I was fascinated by the awesome art style and the promise of some supernatural choose-your-own-adventure style gameplay, it wasn't until I got a huge hands-on with the game at this year's Gamescom in Germany that I truly fell in love with Corvo Atano's tale of revenge and redemption. After I'd had my fill of stealthy assassination action, I had the honour of grabbing Harvey Smith, one of the co-creators of Dishonored, for a quick interview, so I asked him to give me his take on what Dishonored actually is.
To sort of sum it up for people, we say you're a supernatural assassin in a steampunk city. That's like a quick overview. We also tell the story, you're Corvo Atano, the royal protector, the bodyguard of the Empress, who is falsely accused of her murder, and you're out for revenge or to set things right or to restore the kingdom, up to you, how you approach it. The other way we talk about the game is in terms of the game mechanics, which are obviously closest to our values. It is very much a first-person game where we try to immerse you in the world. It is a first-person action game mixed with role-playing game features, so it's not really a shooter, but it's not a pure role-playing game either. We very much put a priority on mobility, getting on the rooftops, jumping, teleporting, sliding, leaning out around things. There's a stealth model where enemies have an imperfect awareness of you. They hear and see, so if you knock over a bottle, guard around the corner might go, "Hey, what was that? I'm going to go check it out." They see with a view cone. The stealth model is very occlusion based, so if you're in their view cone and fairly close, they'll see you instantly, unless you're behind something. And it really is, view cone based, and peripherally their vision gets weaker, and it's also weaker upward because we sort of squash the cone, so you can hide in rafters and such. And darkness only matters like 35 meters out, so at a greater distance you start to become less visible in the dark. But up close it's very quick and very realistic. And then further there are mechanics related to first-person melee combat with the sword, blocking, counter-attacking, and a bunch of supernatural powers like bend time or possession, teleport, which is called blink in our game, things like that.
The footage you can see playing now is from the actual mission I played at Gamescom, where I had to use my stealthy, sleuthy skills to infiltrate a masquerade party and discover which sister out of 3 identical mask-wearing siblings was my assassination target.
I like a man with poor judgment.
I of course cocked it right up and ended up killing all 3 of the sisters before doing a fat legger while being chased by all the guards. What struck me while I was playing this though was how much freedom there was to complete that said mission. I could have literally gone back and completed it in countless different ways, and that makes the game seem very compelling to me. Is the whole of Dishonored this open and free in terms of structure, or will missions have to be completed in a certain order?
It's definitely a series of missions in a specific order, and we do that because we want to handcraft each mission and really make it feel like a particular group of people, a class or a faction or an individual live there. So you get a sense through visual storytelling who lives there and what they were doing before you got there. A world larger than the actual game is part of our goal. And so the mission you played is called Lady Boyle's Last Party, and you can either Samuel the boatman takes you up the river and drops you off, and you make your way through some hostile, desolated streets where some people have been infected with the plague and there are guards, and then once you cross a certain barrier, you're in the estate district. Once you cross a certain barrier, you're near the Boyle Manor, and because Corvo wears a mask and it's a costume ball, they assume that he's a guest if he can get an invitation. And so then you're moving around amongst the guests. If you don't disrupt the party, you can talk to them all. You can gather clues and try to figure out which of the Boyle sisters is actually the corrupt. She's a powerful, aristocratic woman who's very corrupt. She's profiting from the plague. She's throwing a party in the middle of this terrible plague. And you found out that one of the Boyle sisters is the mistress to the tyrant, the Lord Regent. They're together. And she's funding the military for him. So you're there to kill her. And you can either disrupt the party and just slaughter all the guests, or you can completely never kill anyone. You can like go into the party, investigate all the clues, figure out which Boyle woman it is, and either take her out, or there's an alternative story-based side thing that you can do to resolve it that has her exiled to a small island for several years.
Main man Corvo has a whole host of supernatural powers, and the one I used the most during my playthrough was called Dark Vision, which let me see through walls, a bit like Blacklight Retribution's HRV visor. Could you tell us about Corvo's powers and how we will attain and upgrade them during the game?
The way the supernatural powers work for us is that you collect runes in the world, and all of the powers have a cost. So you can buy the powers you want, or save them up for a long time and buy the really powerful ones, or scatter them out and have everything at level 1, or most things at level 1. But we have Dark Vision, which lets you see through walls and see the view cones of your enemies. It's very good for stealth. We have Blink, which is a short-range teleport. Very good for mobility and stealth. Also for moving in a position to kill people if you're playing lethally. We also have Bend Time and Possession. And we also have a Devouring Swarm summons rats. So you can do combinations like summon rats and then possess one of them and run along and go through a small tunnel. But we also have a series of passive powers called enhancements. Things like Shadow Kill, where if you kill an unaware enemy, the body turns to ash so you don't have to hide the body. There are other forms of character development as well. You collect money, and the more thorough you are and the more you explore, the more money you collect. And you can buy equipment upgrades throughout the course of the game. Make your the zoom lens in your mask look further, or crossbow more stable when it fires. There are also something called Bone Charms, which are small supernatural perks, and Corvo wears those on a band across his chest. And so they have minor powers like, if you possess a white rat, you can possess it for much longer. So, they're tweaky little supernatural powers like that, and there are like 45 of those scattered out through the world, and you can probably find 12 in a playthrough or something like that, 12 or 20, and you can only have 3 active at a time unless you upgrade that, and then you can have 5 or more active. But in any case, you decide which of the ones you found you keep active. You plug into a slot, basically.
That's exactly right.
Seeing as you are one of the co-creators of Dishonored, Harvey, what approach do you take when you're in the boots of Corvo Attano? What type of assassin are you?
Well, it's funny. I've been working on games for 18 years, along with Rafael Colantonio, my co-creative director, who's also been working in games 18 years, and we love this type of game more than any. The first-person action game with RPG and stealth elements. We love that combination, and we both play the game all the different ways. But there are times when I play very violently just to feel what that's like. There are times when I play super stealthy and ghost the game, so no one even knew I was there. There are times when I've done non-lethal playthroughs, and I find that more enjoyable because it involves a little more work. There are times when I use a combination, right? Like I'll sneak to get in a position to kill somebody, or I'll only kill them if they catch me, or if they bust me. So like most of the people in the game I don't kill, but once in a while I have to. One of the optimum ways to play the game if you're a super hardcore player, I think, is we have 4 difficulty levels. If you put it on the hardest difficulty level, and then you try to do the playthrough where you don't kill anyone, what you find is that's so constrained, as a self-imposed kind of constraint, that you have to get creative, and odd things happen, and I think it creates many more of those like magical moments where you improvise and you put together something interesting. I have to say the team is playing the hell out of Dishonored right now, and even at the end of the project we keep playing the game, which is always a good sign. And sometimes games don't come out very well, sometimes they come out very well. I was lead designer of the first Deus Ex game, and we got to the end of that project and we just couldn't stop playing it. We all just kept playing it, kept finding combinations and finding things that we thought were interesting. And even as a level designer on that project, it was part of my job You know, I would find things that other level designers had put in the game that I thought were really interesting little detailed touches. And Dishonored is like that. I think it's a game that a second playthrough is even better than the first playthrough, because you just absorb more of the world lore with a greater fluency. You try some things you didn't try before. You know you went left and through the window last time, so you deliberately eschew that. Try to go over the rooftop this time, and so therefore you end up with this like very dense map of fiction as you move through the space. It's I just love this type of experience.
Dishonored is set to hit the shop shelves in November, and I couldn't be more excited about it now I've had this hands-on with the game. Harvey is right. Whoever buys Dishonored will find so much pleasure in replaying missions in different ways, and even though the main game is structured in a linear fashion, it looks like each mission is going to be its own deep sandbox adventure. Couple this with the standout visuals and the attention to detail, and your time with Dishonored should give you some of the most absorbing, engrossing hours of gameplay you will have this entire year.